From the roots beneath our feet to the rafters above our heads. Roots to Rafters is a podcast about legacy, resilience, and the courage to build a life that's truly meant for you. I'm Rachel Dunham, and I am so glad you're here.
Welcome back to Roots to Rafters. Today's episode's a little different. Instead of sharing a guest story or diving into my family history, we wanted to pause and talk directly with you about where we are, what we've been going through, what we've been learning, and why we're taking a short break to reset our approach. Like many creative projects, this podcast has had momentum and friction. Some things have flowed beautifully. Other things have been more challenging than we expected. And over time, we realized that we were spending more energy chasing the clock than being fully present with the stories and the conversations and with each other. So today we're pulling back the curtain a little bit, and we'll talk about what's been going well on the outside with all of our systems and flow, and what's been hard on the inside, and how we've restructured this project so that we can be more intentional, be more sustainable, and align with why we started this whole thing in the first place. So today we have Marty, my audio engineer / husband, and Layton, my co-host / sister's boyfriend / producer / did I say co-host?
Yeah. And co-host.
And video editor. We thank you for being here, and we thank you for your patience with us as we've taken this pause, and for walking alongside us as this story continues to take shape. To start off with, we wanted to talk about what's been going well on the outside in terms of the systems and our processes and getting guests set up and audience outreach, that sort of thing. And then we're going to talk about what's going well, what's been a challenge, and then talk about what's been going on with each of us individually, collectively, and then we'll kind of look ahead to the future about what people should expect. So, Luke, do you want to kick us off with our systems and all that
systems
stuff?
And process. And the overall experience has been a 10 out of 10. The challenge, I'd say about 90% of the things that we've tried to do has been a major challenge. I think almost everything that we've attempted to do, we've had a major problem with and had to totally rethink it more than once. It's been hard. It's been difficult. It's like a different, it's a different sort of experience for me personally to have a project that you kind of know in the back of your head that it has to be done the right way. So it's figuring out that way of doing it because it could impact a lot of people, and the whole goal is to change lives. I don't think that you don't really get that part of it until we put out that first episode, and then you started getting feedback and people start listening to it, and then you realize it's a real thing you've been working towards.
This is happening.
Yeah, and so then you just get kind of overwhelmed with what could happen. I think that we are prone to maybe just overthinking things, but also just overwhelming ourselves with perfectionism so that it can be, so that it does impact people in a way that we want it to. Sometimes that can get in the way of actually producing the content. That's been, I think, the biggest challenge for me in this whole thing. It's just getting in our own way with it. And I think for a while it's kind of frustrating because everyone has their idea of what we want it to look like. Mm-hmm. How do we get there? We know we can get there. How do we do it? And then you feel like you find something that doesn't work. And so you back to the drawing board. It's this kind of frustrating process. Now I think we're coming through that and reaching the end of the jungle, starting to see the light at the end of it. And
and we're hoping it's not a train.
Right, exactly. But it's exciting because it's like I do believe we are closer than we ever have to having exactly what we want, whether it's like technology and material and all that, or just an idea of how we want to structure each episode. It just goes to show, if you're a listener, how serious we're taking this whole thing, because we've changed a lot since the first episode, and we're still changing a lot. Yeah, because we want it to be perfect, because we know it's not just something that we want someone to listen to. Oh, that's interesting, and then you go about your day. I want someone to listen to it and say like, "Whoa, this is going to change my life. This is going to make me act on something or change something about my life, or just tell your own story in your own way." Like, we want everyone to be able to do that. And so that doesn't mean you can just show up, sit down, record something, post it, and it doesn't really matter anything behind it. It's like, no, there's actually a ton of work behind it.
Yeah.
And we're all still figuring it out. It's all our first times doing something this serious. My last podcast was the most unserious thing I've probably ever done.
I was going to ask about that. Like, did you have similar process, system, equipment challenges in the beginning that you worked out? I know you were going for a while, so maybe it's hard to remember the beginning stages of that, but I know the serious nature and the gravity of this one has been different, right? But
we definitely ran into many issues with video recordings. Basically, we found problems with recording it over video and YouTube, so we just didn't do it. We started to do it and then ran into many issues, a lot of the same things that we found here, and we were just like, it's not really worth it. So we dropped it. Yeah. And like sort of similar issues with content of an episode, but for us, it was pretty easy to just say, I didn't like that one. We're just not going to post this week, because we weren't, we weren't under anyone else's schedule. We weren't trying to tell someone's story. It was just us getting together and
this
just
was
talking nonsense.
This was like after high school, right?
Yeah.
And so like, were you working a full-time job at that time?
I was working full-time, and I was like 20 years old, 21 years old. So I was a 20-year-old kid. Like, I didn't really care. This wasn't like big life's work. It was just whatever. I'm just filming this or recording it with my friend, and some of the episodes were really interesting, some of them were not. So it was just not very comparable. Besides the platform, because it's a podcast, this is whole world's different and taken very, very seriously. And we have many moments and episodes where we're like, well, it's good, but maybe we didn't explain something the way we wanted to explain it, and we don't want someone to listen to it and then be turned off by it because we didn't do a good enough job of explaining any given topic. And that's, I think, something we, both of us, is a huge filter in our brains when we listen back to it. It's like, did I explain that well? Would I want to listen to it again? Would I feel comfortable telling my story to these people? It's a lot of pressure that we put on ourselves and the project.
Well, and even more so, there's always in the back of my mind that, like, these are people who've gone through some really difficult things that are going to be listening to this, and we want to make sure that we're creating things that helps them. Sometimes you have to feel some hard feelings when you're going through a growth, and I don't want people to go through that pain, but like, it is part of the process. I'm not so much afraid of those hard feelings. It's more like, I don't want to re-traumatize people, and I want to make sure that what we're saying is sensitive to the people that are going through it or have gone through it, and that's, but you also don't want to get in the way of being open and honest and vulnerable. And that's a hard thing to navigate, and it's something we're not going to get right every time.
Right.
But
I also think,
I remember I said this last night. I go,
there's so many things on the list of things you have to remember to put out a good episode.
Yeah, don't forget to turn off the
air compressor that leaks a little bit of air.
Yeah. That's a great example. Don't forget to do that. Don't forget to put the dogs on the other side of the gate at the bottom of the stairs, or else they'll scratch or be right
because
here.
Because we have dogs that can open doors.
Yeah.
So. Just embrace it. Just embrace it. It was a good conversation piece. It's done. It's over.
Yeah.
But what's going to happen is, as part of my job, perhaps, I think we'll leave it in and embrace it. But, when that kind of stuff happens, they come to me. we don't want to hear that. We got to get that out of the audio. All right. I'll do what I can.
Well, and one of the reasons why I was asking about what your work situation has been, because like I think that's been a big challenge for all of us, is like we all have demanding jobs, and mine and yours has a lot of travel involved, and so there's the minutes and hours that we have to spare, like a lot of them are going to working through these processes, and there's a lot more scrambling than we prefer there to be until our lives change a little bit. And we're also looking to figure out how to, because it's not just like, okay, let's figure out all these complicated systems just for the heck of it. It's a lot of it's like we want it to be as streamlined of a process as possible because we're juggling so much, and we don't want a lot of those tedious things to take center stage, and that's what we're spending all of our time and energy on, So it's not just because we want to have the best tech and the most professional podcast out there. It's just we want to spend our time and energy on the things that really matter,
Right. Yeah, and as I guess as far as the audio goes and stuff, and in my role, I've been trying to help them with trying to capture the best audio we can, but within reason. There's limitations, there's purposeful limitations to it as well. I mean, if you notice, this podcast, we're not using your very typical Shure SM7B large microphones because Rachel really felt a distraction by having, the large typical, podcast style microphone like in front of faces. We were willing to sacrifice a little bit of the audio quality by going more with, lav mics and stuff, which also help with being a little bit more mobile and portable too, because she can go to different sites and stuff with this system. But the audio isn't quite as clear as a direct large cardioid microphone. But so it's one of the trade-offs there, but we like not having that kind of distraction. And
so it's about my whole, like, a lot of that, the logic behind that was I wanted it to be about the people,
right,
and the stories, and so like that your people's faces were center stage. And then also I have ADHD, and having something like right in my face is distracting for me. It's
We'd
hard
rather not
for me
have
to concentrate.
distraction and sacrifice a little bit of audio quality.
Yeah.
But basically my job is to make things sound as good as possible, make sure the air compressors and refrigerators are turned off so we don't have lots of noise. Edit it a
it's your
little
fault.
bit. I'll take the blame for it. I should have thought to, I should have went through the checklist. What are some of the things that would have caused an audio issue today, right? And that I should have been the one to remember that. But yeah, it's challenging. I don't work with video, and this is new to be working with audio and to make sure that it's time aligned and everything to the video, and just learning those different processes and stuff. And that's definitely been a learning experience for me, and definitely will embrace the skill set and probably apply it, not to this, but just to this, but to other things in the future too. It's kind of cool learning about video and different things and expanding my skill set a little bit. So,
well, even you were talking about the mics being mobile for like doing field on-site stuff,
right?
But it also enabled us to totally redo where we're recording, because when we started this, we moved all of the furniture out of our living room, shoved it into our kitchen, and then got everything set up. That took like an hour probably to get all the video, audio, everything set up, cameras, furniture moved out.
That was like the quickest turnaround time though, even though we had to move all that stuff compared to how long it takes us sometimes now up here.
Well, and the event, I think we're working towards getting
a lot
faster.
better than we were at some points.
Yeah, but and it was kind of cool because this space actually has been it's been a thorn in my side for several years, because we started this as a This was a rental that we had. We went through some challenges with it, and my job just made it really, really hard to like finish and like get it to where we wanted it to be. And and then we were just getting exhausted from all the setup and takedown from in the living room.
Yeah.
And having to like set all the camera, you know, we couldn't just like press play every time we wanted to talk about something. And it was like, we were recognizing and feeling how exhausting it was. And then like, you know, wouldn't it be great if we could just set it up somewhere? And so then I was like, you know, we could just like finish this space. Like what you can't see everywhere else is like, there's a lot of unfinished space in this apartment.
Was that kind of...
Oh, no, go ahead.
I was going to say, does that kind of parlay into what we've been spending our time doing over the past month then?
Yeah, there's a little bit of this space, definitely, that like we're like getting things set up because they're, you know, some of this furniture is positioned to hide things that are undone.
Well, one of the things that we learned is that
strategic staging.
We need to get ahead of the game, and you know, trying to get, the goal is to get 4 or 5 episodes ahead so that we're not recording and releasing within the same 7-day period and causing a lot of stress for all of us, unnecessary stress. So, I mean, that's kind of what's been going on past few weeks as episodes have not been getting released. They're getting filmed, things are getting documented, things are getting edited. And that way we're comfortably ahead of schedule, and that will present better, higher quality content for the viewers and help us maintain focus and higher quality content.
Yeah.
So anyway, I think it's working.
It's hard to take a break. I struggled with it. I was starting to feel like we needed to for like a couple of weeks. But it felt so good to finally start this thing that's been brewing for years. And it felt a little bit like failure to take a step back. Like I struggled with that decision. And I remember coming to you and I'm like, Luke, you're going to be so mad at me. But like, and you know, because I just felt like we needed to slow down to speed up. You know, It's kind of what kept going in my head. And so it was hard to come to that conclusion because it felt so good. And it's, even when we pushed pause, it was kind of hard to build that momentum up. We all have so many things going on in our life. And like when you don't have that deadline, you know, especially with our dopamine systems and stuff, it's hard to, without those deadlines of getting the episodes done, it makes it hard. But we have actually accomplished a lot since we started. Like you guys were struggling with being in your separate worlds, you know, you and what's your audio? I'm drawing a blank.
Ableton,
thank you.
Oh.
And you in Premiere
my digital
Pro.
audio workstation.
Yeah, like you in the Premiere Pro, like you guys were having trouble like trying to get the files to go back and forth and stuff, and just like a lot of like tedious things that don't feel like they matter, but they do, and they take up so much time, and so we worked through a lot of that stuff.
I remember one of the first major problems we had was just getting the podcast on the big 3 platforms. Mike and I were on with Spotify support while we were playing a pickleball game. Every time we won or lost a point, I'd run over and respond on my phone to them. Apparently, they had multiple people working on the back end trying to figure it out because the support person didn't know what was going on. I had this similar thing happen with Amazon, but Amazon sucks and they never got back to me. So, and we're on Amazon now. But it just like, because some of it was my fault also, just inexperience of like, we were hosting on Spotify, which was good, but hosting on Spotify wouldn't get us on Apple Podcasts. It should, but it wasn't. So then I kind of impulsively pulled the whole podcast to a different platform, which was good because it got us on Apple Podcasts, like easy to make a website through them. There's like a ton of stuff we could do with them, but then we weren't on Spotify. And so then going back to Spotify is why I had to be on the support with them for so long. So there's just things at Spotify for creators where you can host a podcast There's things that they just don't do that other places can do for you.
Right.
So that was a whole thing, getting it off of Spotify again. And I know it's like doing that is a pretty big merger when you take all of the data and content from a certain platform. You have to redirect it to something else. It's not as easy as like, because you don't want to delete anything that's out there. You have to transfer episodes and statistics. It's not as easy as just like, okay, I'm just going to start uploading here and stop uploading over there. So anyway, that was a huge learning experience for me, because there was a ton of, little nets we kept getting caught in, and it was difficult to, once you host your website on this platform, then you redirect your URL to a different platform. So it's that whole world that I had no idea what was going on with it until we're live with this podcast with people who want to find us, who want to listen to it. And so then it's like, well, I know I've got to fix this, but I don't want the whole thing to go down. So when you were like, I think we should take a break, I was like, absolutely. I think that's a great idea. Like, things were piling up and we were so behind.
That's what it was. It was it was always like we were chasing it, but then it just started getting to where I can't see a world where we get caught up.
Yeah. Because posting every single week meant that we would spend 6.5 days worrying about the last episode. And then we would be like, oh my God, we got this week's episode.
We did it.
So it's like Tuesday night, we do everything, work on it, finally send it out. And then it's like, okay, I guess now I worry about this week's episodes. Before you know it, we've got hours of footage that we're like, don't even know how to begin. We haven't even solved linking the audio and the video. So now we have to figure out that before we can even sit down and actually edit something. And we're talking about stuff that we filmed weeks ago.
That right there was the biggest reason why I was like, we got to pause, was the audio and video. Because we got the first video. That was it. Like, it was just the first video. And I just didn't see us getting caught up. And I was like, okay, we got to get help, And again, it's like, we're trying to do this on a shoestring budget and things like that. But like, I'm like, okay, like if we're ever going to reach as many people as we possibly can, we're going to have to invest in some help. We hired some people to help us work. Because one of the issues with even finding the right editing software outside of Premiere Pro to do some of the tedious stuff, to get that stuff off your plate, like with the AI cleanup and stuff, you had to test the whole thing, and you spent hours trying to test it out and it's not until you run into a problem that you realize, oh, this software is not going to work. And so I was like, you know what, like, there's people who have done this. We should just reach out to them and try to get some of their experience and feedback. And we hired somebody and they wrote out a whole process for us, and we're still vetting it and working through some of the details, but like waving the white flag and being like, okay, we need help, was a learning experience for us in and of itself. And I think it was the right move, which kind of goes into, I think we can talk a little bit about what's been going well for external things. Like, viewership has been
pretty steady, actually, which is surprising. That's, for a podcast, we've said this many times, for a podcast that has 6 episodes, that the world didn't know about us before October 1st. We released 6 times inconsistently with almost no social media content.
Right.
We're still sitting at about 32 views per episode. We're getting,
which for a new podcast,
it's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's not very indicative of growth. What is the fact that we haven't gone a single day without at least one viewer, which is pretty cool.
That's amazing.
And we get consistently, if you break it down by week, we get about 5 more viewers each week.
Than the last week?
Yes, than the previous week.
Really?
So we're like still gaining views. And that's just like, when was our last episode? Like a month ago.
Yeah.
So it's been a while since we've posted anything, and we're still getting consistent views, which means, at least I'm assuming this is what it means, the content is something that people want to listen to. It resonates with people. When you listen to it, you want to listen to it. You want to continue listening to it and get multiple episodes. And I think that's like going back to what we've been talking about this whole episode so far. It's like, we know it's there. We know people want to listen to it. We all work full-time jobs. We have to figure out a method that works for us so that we don't go to work the entire day and then spend the rest of the day on this.
Yeah.
It's not that we don't have the passion or like we want to, but we want it to remain an enjoyable thing. We love it. We want to put out awesome content. And it's exciting to see the numbers reflect that people do enjoy the stuff that we put out. We just want to figure out how do we put the best stuff out that's not going to burn us out.
I mean, we'll see, but I think I've probably gone through the biggest transition internally through this process, because, you've done a podcast before. I know this has been a different, you've had internal wins and challenges as well, and so do you. But like, I've never done this. I've been generally a person who didn't like putting myself out there, especially vulnerability things. Like, I didn't really want to share. I've had health issues and I'm like, please don't tell people about this thing or that thing. I've never been someone that I don't want people to feel bad for me. I don't like thinking about other people talking about me in rooms I'm not in. There's just a lot of insecurities that have come up. I know that I'm not really good at this yet. And that's been another challenge with a lot of the editing and stuff. It's been taking up a lot more time because there's a lot more to edit out because I'm still not good at this. But one of the reasons why you encouraged me to move forward anyways, and one of the reasons why I listened and agreed to it, because if we were to fast forward or rewind it to a year ago, there's no way I would have started when we did. No way. There's not a world that exists in the past that I would have done this as early as we did. But I knew that I wanted to not just encourage people to step out and get uncomfortable and start doing things to change their life. I knew that if this was going to be genuine and this was going to be real, that I had to do it myself.
Right.
And it's been very uncomfortable. Like, when we released the first episode, I was just like, oh my God, like, listening to myself was just so painful. Like, it's so hard. And you told me it would be. Mm-hmm. And then, like, we had the second episode where we had some challenges with the editing and stuff that shouldn't have been in there, like, ended up in there. And I was just, like, mortified. I was just like, oh my gosh. But I'm so glad. I want to keep mortifying myself to the point where I can get rid of my ego. Because, like, our egos get in the way of, like, our egos are, like, the barrier to our potential. Like, if we can get over ourselves, there's no limit to who we can become. And so this process has really been challenging my ego and my fears and my insecurities. And even just like what you were talking about earlier, the perfectionism, I definitely struggle with that. But there's this balance, because you also want to be professional and let people know, with the big dreams that we have of, like, creating a training program and, renovating houses and turning them into documentary and renovation show, highlighting the stories. And these are big dreams, and we need to be able to show people that we're people that you can put a bet on, like, we're capable of doing incredible things. And so it's trying to balance, because I know my perfectionist voice is still in my head through this process, but I also, like, trying to figure out where is that perfect sweet spot. Mm-hmm. And that has, like, challenged my insecurities, because I feel insecure about, like, how much of a perfectionist I am, because I think can be annoying at times. And Another thing I think that we've been going through is figuring out our dynamics. You know, we've had some hard conversations, but I feel like we've all individually had and collectively had hard conversations. But because we've been willing and committed, we've had a lot of growth. And I'm genuinely grateful to both of you guys for sticking through this, because it's also been healing, you know? Like, I've cried probably more than I have in the last 6 months than I have in the last 6 years. And you know, just the fact that you guys believe in this and you believe in me and my ability to do this has been so meaningful to me, and I appreciate you guys. And as much as it's been so difficult and challenged me in ways that I needed to be challenged, and I'm reminded that, like, in order for me to be the person I need to be to do this insane thing, I've got to deal with this stuff, and I've got to be challenged in these ways. And it's still hard, but I'm kind of like, I have the mindset of like, bring it on, you know, like, let me get that shit out, you know, like I'm ready to move on from things that a lot of this stuff goes back to like elementary school lunchtime, you know, that like, where do I sit, you know, and mean girl stuff. It's old stuff that just needs to go, you know.
I think you're showing that it's impossible to have a podcast where the main point is to help people out of difficult situations. It's impossible to host that without helping yourself out of it. It's
exactly.
Like every episode we've had so far, you've said amazing things that people can resonate with, and you are people and you are resonating with it. And it's like your body's like, hey, what the hell? Like, what about me? Like, I need some of that help too. And so it's all coming back up. Yeah. You gotta just work through it, which is, I think, like pretty cool. If I was a listener and I was going through some shit, I would be pretty excited to hear like, oh, cool. Like, we're kind of going through it together with the hosts here, because they, you know, they're figuring it all out just like I am. We talk about it. It's everybody's first time being alive, you know. You're all just trying to figure out like what you want to do and what's the best thing for your life. And if podcasting was easy, everybody would just sit down and talk to each other and make a bunch of money off of it. But it's not easy. It's difficult. And when you're doing what we're trying to do, it's not as easy as just sitting down and talking and then hopefully making money off of it. It's like, no, we're not, like, that's not really the point. The point is trying to help people and create something bigger than just a podcast and bigger than just the things that you're going through.
Well, it's been interesting because part of the thing that I've had to challenge myself in is putting myself out there, not just in the internet and into the interwebs, but also like making connections with people, you know. And it's been kind of transitioning from the difficult stuff to the positive things, but the positive things don't happen until you do the difficult things, you know. But like, I've gone up to speakers after different events, and I've reached out to people that felt like they were out of my reach, you know, and those aren't things that I would do. I'm not that person. I stay in my zone. I don't like to be reminded of my insecurities. I do I've always just kind of had my people and like the people I vibe with and I feel comfortable with and I feel like I belong to, and I don't put myself out there to people beyond that. But in exercising, you know, this whole thing, like doing the things I knew I had to do to be able to do this project, I had to put myself out there. And like what happened as a result to that, like meeting people who actually used to which the topic wasn't about this, but like meeting people who actually worked with survivors of domestic violence and sexual assault, like by just reach out and starting to talk to people, and like how many people I've talked to when I've like shared what I'm doing who are like, I'm actually going through a similar thing where I'm tired of the status quo and I'm starting to pursue what's in my heart. And like the connection that you get with people when you start sharing about what you're doing and what's going on, you know, like it's been incredible. Like it's blown my mind. And the way people receive this idea when I explain it, and I feel crazy when I'm trying to explain to people what we're doing. It's been incredible. So as much as there's been so many hard things, there's been a lot of impressive things. And then even just the person I am today is different than the person I was a year ago. And I've had several people even tell me like I'm a different person than when they first met me, you know, that I've met recently. Anyways, I've just talked for way too long. And
it's a podcast.
So what have been some of the challenges or wins that you've had internally through the process?
I think for me, it's something I've always struggled with, my pride. So a lot of the times I call it being a sensitive little bitch. Which is like, I know emotions are fine and I'm like no problem crying and well, I don't really cry that much, but like I'm in tune with my emotions. It's not like that, but it's like my pride, like if I can just be sensitive and like something will happen and it'll just be my pride will respond for me or think for me. And that's something I have had to, I feel like I did a pretty good job of reeling in, but then in this experience I realized that I didn't have like a good cap or I wasn't controlling my pride. I just molding it so that my pride didn't take hits. And then this project started and it was like working just so closely with other people. It was like, okay, well, I can't change things or manipulate things so that I don't feel like I'm being slighted in a certain way. So then, yeah, my pride did take hits and it wasn't anything that serious. It was just me being a sensitive little bitch. Like that's really all it was. And then you kind of work on that and you realize like, okay, like nobody's out to get you. No, like it's not a bad thing. Criticism is okay. So that has been my sort of journey since we've started this whole thing. It's not something that's, infected my life, but it is something that I've noticed, which I think is good. It's good for me at least to stay within reality. And, it's so easy to, like I was saying, mold your life to be uber comfortable without even realizing it. And it just takes challenge and stress and pressure for you to just come back down to earth and come back down to reality and be like, okay, it's okay for me to admit that I don't know certain things. Like that's that sensitive part. I just have to turn off sometimes. I'm not saying
or just
sensitive
talk about it.
Well, that's what my initial reaction is like. I just get all mad about like somehow I'm being screwed over, but it's like that's not really the case. I have to be better at not jumping the gun so much.
All of us, I think, do this too, but I think the big difference is there's something worth going through it for. And I think, this is kind of a lesson I feel like I've learned and something that, if you're listening, you can take this home with you too. But like if there's growth that you want or you feel like you need to make, changes you need to make, I think it's finding your why. What's your reason? And your reason, really, I mean, the fact that we all exist and we're all sitting here and we have this life is reason enough, because we exist and there's, whether you know it or not, there's a purpose for you that's beyond your wildest dreams, and you're capable of things you couldn't even imagine. But we're not as kind to ourselves, or we don't believe in ourselves the way we should. And so sometimes it takes external things to kind of backdoor get us to where we need to be, to help us find something that's worth I would say undoing for, because I don't think it's becoming who we are. I think we already were. I think it's undoing all the stuff that like gets in the way of who we really are. That is the process that we have to go through.
Yeah, I think that's a major theme in this podcast, is helping people find their reason to go through things. It's always going to be easier to ignore it and distract yourself, but it'll always be more fulfilling to go through the difficult thing. And this episode's a good example of like, we don't have everything figured out.
No.
We are all going through things, and I believe that you're just always going through those things, but it's like, that's what makes up the person that you are. That's how your character is created, is how are you willing to approach the difficulties in your life.
What about you, Michael?
What about me?
What kind of internal journey have you had to go through this process? I know, other than like dealing with me and my journey.
Internal journey. Well, I mean, really for me, it's a lot about having patience and understanding for for
It's okay, you can say it for me.
well, for what you're trying to go through, what you're trying to accomplish, your challenges with it, and diving into something new. And, I mean, that has its obvious challenges, being close with you and everything. And I want to help in any way that I can, but we're both very busy. And I think that sometimes that is a challenge too. And there's listeners out there that are counting on the next episode, the next bit of information that they want to digest. And that keeps me going, like knowing that there's people that are eager to hear the message or hear the next message, and it's exciting. No one says it's easy. It's not easy, but the vision of the alternative of giving up is like not an option. Like we've gone through a lot of rough things in our life, challenging times, and quitting has just never been an option. So come on. Come on, let's build up these listeners.
It's a hype man.
We're waiting for the phones to ring here. Oh, here we go. Do you remember that shit back in the day?
Those were the telethons.
Yeah, the telethons.
With
33 listeners. Let's go for 35. We need 35. We need 40 by the end of the episode. Anyhow.
Well, I think it would be great to talk about what the listeners can expect ahead.
Consistency.
Yes.
Expect consistency and more content. This is what this whole pause is when do we come back? And so that like when we come back, we have consistent episodes, we have our weekly episode, and then we have content every single day. It's just nonstop on all social media platforms. So we'll be able to crank out, a lot of it's going to be clipping from the episodes. We want to start these mini series, really dive deep into Ida's story. We've got a lot of cool ideas that we've had this whole time. It's just we haven't had the time to actually get into stuff like that. A lot of cool ideas of mapping out Ida's timeline so that it's a very visual thing. You kind of get this idea of what it was like to live at that time period, and then you can use that information to kind of get deeper into Ida's story when we talk about it on the podcast and immerse yourself a little bit better. One
of the things, we don't necessarily have an exact date of when we're going to start releasing again, but we have goals that we're working towards and we're starting to get some traction on. And we've got some people that we're really excited about having. There's some mental health professionals talking about the trauma triangle, and all the different ways that people can respond and who they can start becoming because of traumatic events. So we have some people coming in from that, a lot of women in construction, leaders that'll talk about their experiences. There's a few kids whose mothers went through domestic violence and explaining their experience of what it was like to watch their mothers go through that. A lot of inspirational stories that we're really excited about. Can't wait to start getting those out into the world. We're looking at recording like a kind of a mini documentary sometime soon, which I'm super excited about.
I also know a lot of people liked the 2-part episode from the archives. So we're going to try and do more kind of in the field content and actually go down to Colorado Springs to some of the properties that Ida owned, even, going back to the archives in Denver. And I don't know for sure if the Springs has their own archive, but
they
I'm
do
sure they
for
have
certain
things
things
that Denver doesn't.
Yeah, like the legal cases, those are all in Denver. But like I've researched a lot of newspaper articles in Colorado Springs. And so I think going back and kind of looking at a lot of that stuff and some of that property history, like deeds and things like that, are all down in Springs. But
yeah, so I think it's, we have a lot of really interesting, thought-provoking content that is to come. That's what, like I said before, that's what this whole pause is to figure it all out right now so that when we come back, it's like,
we're back,
and
let's go.
There's no shortage. It won't be difficult to find our content and to keep along with the story.
We don't want to leave you hanging like this again in the future, and so that's why we're taking a pause. And it would be really, really cool. I'll need to see if I can get a hold of them again, but to actually bring everybody along to go back up into the Rafters and the first home that she built, where they homesteaded. So you can kind of experience like what it was like for me to see that for the first time. So lots of so many cool ideas and things that we'll be doing. But,
Yeah.
So stay tuned, and thank you so much for your patience as we figure these things out. And I know within the core of me that this is big, and this is going to be amazing, and we're committed to this. You all are worth doing this for, and as much as this has been hard, it's been rewarding, and the hard stuff is worth it. You're worth it. If you're listening, and know that we believe in you so much that we're willing to transform the people that we are and the way we're doing things in order to reach as many people as possible so that they can hear this message and understand that, your life is worth living to the fullest extent. So as we wrap up, thank you for listening, for trusting our process, and for giving us space to thoughtfully, rather than hurriedly, figure this out. It's not a step back, it's just a recalibration. Our goal is to come back with episodes recorded ahead, clearer rhythm, and the ability to show up more present, more grounded, and more connected to the stories that we're sharing. What you can expect next is a stronger foundation, deeper conversations, and a release schedule that supports creativity instead of chasing creativity. We're excited about what's coming, and we're so grateful for you, genuinely, especially being committed to us as it's been messy, and you're so committed. So thank you. Until then, please take care of yourselves, stay curious, be open, and remember that sometimes the most important progress happens when you slow down long enough to build it back right and to pay attention to what's happening around you and within you. So thank you, and we'll see you again soon.
Thank you for listening to Roots to Rafters. If this episode resonated with you, please share it with someone who might need to hear it. And if you haven't already, like and subscribe to help us reach more people with stories of resilience and possibility. Roots to Rafters is produced by Rachel Dunham and Luke Layton. This episode is hosted by Rachel Dunham and Luke Layton. Video editing by Luke Layton and Rosalind Adlam. Sound design and mixing by Michael Marty with Scratch Tracks Recording and Rosalind Adlam. This podcast shares personal stories and experiences for informational purposes only, and it is not a substitute for professional legal, medical, or mental health advice. Be kind, share love, and see you on the next episode.